Now, reasons for optimism, both on Australia and the world. Firstly, I do count myself as an optimist. I do think the world economy keeps on growing. I think there are reasons to be optimistic. One is the fact that the central banks of the world have still got monetary policy very, very easy. Interest rates are still ridiculously low, and that's a very, very positive thing for financial markets, but also for the economy. The second thing is the United States. If you look at the performance of the US economy, it looks to be in really amazing shape. Some of the numbers coming out of the US in the last few months have been very, very solid. It's quite amazing, you know, that even though if you think back to the start of the GFC, it all kind of started in the United States. But one of the lessons, I think, of the GFC is that we underestimate American resilience and American dynamism at our peril. Okay? Even if they're first into a crisis, they're more often going to be first out because they take their medicine and they move on. The US financial system's in great shape, much better shape, and even American businesses are starting to put more money to work. One of the missing links, if you like, was that even though consumers were spending and housing was starting to pick up, and you were seeing a bit of a pickup in manufacturing output, business investment just wasn't picking up as much as you thought. So a lot of American businesses have been sitting on a massive pile of cash. Well, we're now seeing signs of that cash being put to work, both in merger and acquisition activity, but more positively in expanding production, which is terrific. Okay, so that's the next shoe to drop. China and India are still amazingly powerful long-term growth drivers. Okay. They're not without risks, don't get me wrong. So you'll see on my next slide, China will feature on my reasons for worry as well. Okay. But certainly as a long-term growth driver, China and India are still amazing stories. In fact, if you're a betting person, the biggest economy in the world in the next, say, 40 or 50 years, now everyone thinks it's going to be China. It won't be. It's more likely to be India. India 1, China 2, US 3 probably. And the reason I say that is that it's just a question of sheer weight of numbers. The Indian population is young and growing, the Chinese population is old and shrinking. So if you have a bigger population and they have similar levels of productivity, the bigger population wins. So I think longer term, India will end up being the biggest economy in the world. And the other thing is that a lot of, I mentioned fiscal policy here in Australia, and that fiscal policy is not going to be as big a drag as I'd feared. If I look at economies around the world, the good news is that governments, a lot of governments who spent the last few years trying to kind of slash and burn their way to prosperity, have given the ghost up on that and have started to, you know, relax things a bit. So fiscal policy, the budget, is not going to be as big a drag on growth in the next 4 years as it has been in the last 4, which is terrific.